Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Becks and today we're doing a Bible with Becks on Joshua chapter 9, talking all about have you inquired with the Lord lately? Hey guys, I have been reading in Joshua 9 and there was one line in particular, one verse, Joshua 9:14, which says, "The Israelites sampled their provisions but did not inquire of the Lord." Oh, that line really got me and it made me think, do I inquire of the Lord? Have I inquired of the Lord lately? So what I want to talk about today is the idea of inquiring with the Lord when you have decisions to make, when there are things coming up, when you're not sure about stuff. Are you inquiring of the Lord? Are you checking in with Him? Because there are so many times in my life where people have been like, let me just pray about that. And I've always thought, do you really need to pray about everything? Like, are you sure? Like, sometimes I think it comes across as cheesy. I've often thought it was a bit odd in relationships. Do you need to pray if you want to go on a coffee date with this person? But actually, I have learned that if you're the kind of person who prays when somebody asks you for just a coffee date, which is just a chat, you are an amazing person who is inquiring of the Lord what is His will for you. Because even having a chat with the wrong person can lead down a whole path that you don't want to go down. And it hit me that in my life there have been many times in the past that maybe I haven't inquired of the Lord properly, and it's led me somewhere that I don't want to be. And in these recent times when I've been sorting out going into Baptist ministry and where I'm going to study, I've been really taking a lot of time to pray about it, because I don't want to not inquire with Him and end up somewhere that I didn't want, or end up with consequences that I didn't want. And God will always work things out for your good when you return to His side. But if we can avoid doing that by honoring God and inquiring with Him and actually checking with Him if we're on the right path, we can kind of avoid going down that road. So I'm going to read to you a fair bit from Joshua chapter 9, which just talks about why they got to this point of sampling provisions but not inquiring of the Lord, and why it was a bad thing. Okay, let's read through Joshua 9. So this is the Gibeonite Deception. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I'm saying it in this video. Okay. Now when all the kings of the west of Jordan heard about these things, the kings in the hill country, the western foothills, along the entire coast of the Mediterranean Sea, as far as Lebanon, the king of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivitites, and Jebusites, they all came together to wage war against Joshua and Israel. However, the people of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai. They resorted to a ruse. They went as a delegation whose donkeys were loaded with worn-out sacks and old wineskins, cracked and mended. They put on worn and patched sandals on their feet, and they wore old clothes. All the bread of their food supply was dry and moldy. Then they went to Joshua in the camp at Gilgal and said to him and the Israelites, "We have come from a distant country. Make a treaty with us." The Israelites said to the Hivites, "But perhaps you live near to us. How can we make a treaty with you?" "We are your servants," they said to Joshua. But Joshua asked, "Who are you and where do you come from?" They answered, "Your servants have come from a very distant country because of the fame of the Lord your God. For we heard reports of Him and all that He did in Egypt, all that He did to the 2 kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, Sihon, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, who reside in Asaroth. And our elders and all those living in the country said to us, 'Take provisions for your journey. Go, meet them, and say to them, "We are your servants. Make a treaty with us." This bread of ours was warm when we packed it at home on the day we left to come to you, but now see how dry and moldy it is. And these wineskins, they were filled with new wine, but see how cracked they are. And our clothes and sandals are worn out from the very long journey." The Israelites sampled their provisions, but did not inquire of the Lord. Then Joshua made a treaty of peace with them, and let them live, and the leaders of the assembly ratified it with an oath. 3 days later, after they made the treaty with the Gibeonites, the Israelites heard that they were neighbors living near them. So they set out on the 3rd day and came to their cities, Gibeon, Kephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim. But the Israelites did not attack them, because the leaders of the assembly had sworn an oath to the Lord, the God of Israel. The whole assembly grumbled against them, but the leaders answered, "We gave our oath by the Lord, God of Israel. We cannot touch them now." This is what we do to them. We will let them live, so that God's wrath will not fall on them for breaking the oath we swore to them. They continued, let them live, be woodcutters and water carriers in the service of the whole assembly. So the leader's promise to them was kept. Then Joshua summoned the Gibeonites and said, why did you deceive us by saying we live a long way from you, while actually you live near us? Now you are under a curse, and you will never be released a service from woodcutters and wood carriers for the house of my God. Okay, that was a little bit long, but at this time the Israelites are now being led by Joshua. Joshua has taken over from Moses, and he's following God's instructions to continue to go up and take the land that God has prepared for them. And in doing that, God says that there should be no one spared. Don't make treaties and things for people in this land that you're taking over. And because of the way that God has been so successful in taking all of these lands, the Gibeonites have heard about this, and they're afraid of God. They're afraid of what is going to happen, and they're afraid of the Israelites. And so they lie and they trick the Israelites. When they're talking about their worn out shoes and their moldy bread, they put their moldy bread and worn out shoes on to travel the short trip that it was because they were neighbors to the Israelites. But they lied and made it seem like they'd come from a far off land, and that actually they could make a treaty with them because they weren't the neighbors that God had told them they needed to take their land from. And so that line comes in. They sampled the goods, they tested what they thought they could see, but they did not inquire of the Lord. And not too long later, they find out they've been tricked, and that they've made an oath under God saying that they will not take over their land, they will not harm them in any way. And so they lose a portion of what has been prepared for them by God because of what they've done. And it goes to show that they made a decision, a big decision, without asking God. And that just really hit me in the face, like I said before, because I know I've done that. I've gotten into friendships, relationships. I've made, decisions about modules I'm going to take and things like that in my life. I've never actually taken a job. God bless, without asking him first. But maybe you've taken a job that you haven't actually spoken to God about before and found that actually this isn't the best place for you. And I 100% believe he will work everything out. But you could have avoided some of the hurts along that journey. You could have avoided disobeying God in some way if you just listened to him. Or you could have just been blessed more if you followed his word for you. I know that if I took more time with past relationships, that maybe I wouldn't have had relationships with certain people, because I would have been able to determine God's will for me sooner. Because if I'd inquired of him, he would have given me the answers if I just asked him. And so that's why I wanted to share this with you today, because I want to challenge you and me. Are we inquiring of the Lord? Are we actually asking him to show us the way? Of the big things and the small things. This isn't just about the job that you're going to take, or the university that you're going to go study at, or the person that you're going to marry. Even little things. How should I respond to this person today? What gift should I get? What route should I take on this journey? We should take the big things and the little things and inquire of God. So I have some more verses here to kind of back me up on why we should do this. So I'm just going to list off a few verses. So the first one that came to mind for me is Ephesians 4:27, which says, "And do not give the devil a foothold." Now, in this situation with Joshua, by not inquiring of the Lord, they allowed the devil to get a foothold. And so in all the things that they were promised, they lost a portion of their land to other people that were not the Israelites, because they let the devil get a foothold. They didn't inquire of the Lord and check with him. In our lives, we don't want to give the devil any chance to get a foothold. So relationships is a big one, where if you make the wrong choice, it can really throw you off in your relationship with him for a long time. That's the background that I've come from. I went through real difficult times with my faith being tossed and turned, and me as a person being tossed and turned, because I let the devil get a foothold in terms of me making the wrong choices. So that's something to keep in mind. Are you talking to God? Are you inquiring of him? Or are you letting the devil get a foothold? Okay, then another one from Ephesians is Ephesians 5:15-17, which says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise but wise, making the most of every opportunity, because days are evil. Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is." So this again shows us the days are evil. Everything around us can go the wrong way. We can make the wrong choices. We can walk into that foothold that the devil wants to get hold of us. So we need to be really careful how we live in a wise way, understanding what the Lord's will is for us. You can only understand what the Lord's will is for you if you inquire of him. So again, let's inquire of him. Let him tell us what his will is, the way he wants us to live each day, the big things, the small things, and not let the devil get a foothold. Then the last one from Ephesians 6:18 just says, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. I wanted to put that out there, that share it all, take it all to him in prayer and have these conversations. Inquiring of the Lord for us is praying, most likely, and asking him into our situations. And then I have 2 verses from James. So one of them is James 1:5, which says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. So if we want the wisdom of making the right choice, if Joshua had inquired of God, God would have given him the wisdom to probably know that they had deceived him, or he would have given him a way, they would have checked more things. He would have given him that wisdom to make a better decision, to find out a bit more about the Gibeonites, or he would have given him the knowledge that they had been lying. So again, for our lives, if we inquire of God, we don't let the devil get a foothold, and we get to make wise decisions. God can give that wisdom to us to make the right choices, because he knows what's going to happen in 2 hours, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, but we don't. So we need his divine wisdom over our lives to make the choice. And then my last one is James 3:17, which says, but the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. God's wisdom is the right way. The choice that he's going to take us into is going to be pure and peace-loving, considerate, full of mercy, good fruit. The choice that we might make is probably not going to be peace-loving. It's probably not going to be full of mercy. It's probably going to have bad fruit, because we can get ourselves in situations where the devil gets a foothold and we're making unwise decisions, and then we find ourselves in a mess. It's okay to make mistakes. I've said this many times, but we can avoid making mistakes and getting into messes if we just would inquire of the Lord. We don't have to be in a position where we have to lose out on blessings or get knocked off course for the will that God has for us, that calling that you have in your life. You don't have to get thrown off course for 2 years if we would just inquire of him a bit more. Some of the trials and the tests and the things we go for are necessary, but sometimes we make life harder for ourselves because we don't heed the advice that God has given us. And so I just want to encourage you today, don't be like Joshua and the Israelites who got tricked by the Gibeonites, where the devil got a foothold and it took, some of the land that they were supposed to be given by God because of the mistakes that they made. Don't let the devil get a foothold. Make wise decisions and inquire of the Lord today. So if you think it's too cheesy to pray about going on a date with somebody and praying about the route that you're going to take on your walk tomorrow, get rid of all of that. I used to think like that. No more. We are going to inquire of the Lord every day. We're going to inquire of him for all the decisions that we need to make so that we are doing what his will is for us. So the devil has no chance of messing it up. And so that we can have that peace-loving, good fruit, pure, just the right way. We're going in the right way. We're walking with God. Okay guys, this week make sure that you inquire of the Lord, and I hope to see you guys on Wednesday for another video. Bye guys, stay blessed.